Hey guys, Chris and PJ here live in the Dream Giveaway Garage.
Happy Wednesday, sir.
Happy Wednesday. PJ, you're back again.
Yeah. All week.
Are we going to be
All
seeing
week.
you again tomorrow?
The rest of the week, yes.
Or at least your thumb will be seeing tomorrow.
Right.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about arguably the two most important years of the original muscle car era, 1969 and 1970. And we're going to be taking a look at the engine bay of two prime examples, one from the boys at Dodge Plymouth and one from the guys over at Pontiac.
Both Detroit.
Detroit,
Cars, right?
Detroit Iron. That's correct. So, if you had some money to spend in 1969 or 1970, you had a lot of really cool options. Did you buy a Camaro, a Firebird, a Chevelle, a GTO, a Buick Skylark, a 442, a Roadrunner, a Cuda, a Challenger, and the list goes on, and a Super Bee. The list goes on and on and on. What did I forget? A Corvette. So many amazing choices for you to get if you were a new car shopper in 1969 and 1970. PJ, who's out there watching us today? Oh, I can name off our regulars. I know them.
Roger's out there.
Hi,
all
Roger.
good stuff, yeah.
Hi, Jesus. Hi, Larry.
But what do we got? We got a big block.
No, this is a small block.
Well, we just talked a little bit about earlier, you know, the insurance companies and not wanting to insure these people.
That's right. So what killed the muscle car era? Two things: insurance companies and new emission laws. Correct? So all of a sudden the feds came in and said no longer can you run leaded fuel, you have to start running unleaded fuel. And GM and the other companies, what was the first year of unleaded fuel? 72 or was it 71? But regardless, those myriad factors, but primarily those two I mentioned, were forces that acted upon the incredible muscle car era in 1969 and 1970 and brought it to a close. Within 10 years, we were going from 450 horsepower on a Chevy big block and 425 horsepower on a Hemi, down to 110, 120 horsepower by 79, by 80. That's the reason we call late 70s, the early 80s, almost into the early 90s, the dark ages for the American muscle car movement. There was no power out there, and it wasn't until Ford came back with the HO, the Mustang HO in the mid-80s, cracking over that 200 horsepower limit again, that threshold, that the horsepower wars started coming back. Before you knew it, Corvette had horsepower, the 4th gen Firebird and Camaro came out, they had horsepower. But the big thing that happened with horsepower was probably in 1997 and 1998 when the GM LS engines started coming out. And we started really seeing over 325 horsepower again, which was kind of a high point for many vehicles back in the late 60s and early 70s. But today, let's look at this first. 340 6-barrel. So of course the 340 is a small block Mopar engine. You can see it's painted Hemi orange. This one has a 6-barrel induction. It was a Dodge, it would be called 6-pack induction. And this induction system, 3 2-barrel carburetors, was a pretty common concept and implementation, not only for Dodge and Plymouth. Corvette had 3 2-barrels, Pontiac had them, even Oldsmobile had them way back in the late 1950s. So dropping 3 2-barrels instead of 1 4-barrel was a popular way to know that you got a little more power. This one, 340 cubic inches, because the AAR Cuda running in the Trans Am series in 1970, you couldn't get over 350 cubic inches. So 340 right there. Let's go over to look real quick what's happening on the other side of Detroit, over up in Pontiac, Michigan. 400 cubic inch. Now, a Pontiac doesn't have a small block, it doesn't have a big block. It simply has a Pontiac block for anything from a 326 to a 455. It's a bore in the stroke that tells you your cubic inches. So we've got 400 cubic inches here on a Ram Air 3 engine, good for 366 horsepower. People have got to be watching by now. I'm dropping so much useful information. We must be drawing a crowd, PJ.
Mike Green says, I'm 69 years old, got my license in 72. You can't imagine how cheap you could buy these cars used.
They were dirt cheap. Dirt cheap.
But there was no warranty, right? There was no big
There's no
10
warranty.
years or...
Right. No. When these cars came off the line, you might have gotten a powertrain warranty of 12 months, 12,000 miles, if that. Even before that, 3,000 mile warranties. And we've talked about it before. There was no 5-year, 60,000 mile warranties. They didn't have the technology to have the tight tolerances on the engines to keep them running for that long without things happening to them. We talk about them being the glory days, but honestly, I mean, these things would break down.
Mechanics must have been in their heyday.
Mechanics were in their heyday. That's correct. So which one? You've got two dealerships across from each other on your U.S. highway in your hometown. Do you go to the Dodge Plymouth dealer? Do you pick out an AR Cuda? Or do you pick out a GTO Judge, which was also available not only in 1970, but in 71, and for a very, very brief time in 1972. Very rare to find one in 70.
Now you look at the engine bays, and so when you look at this car, and you're kind of trying to pick which one you're going to buy, right? So you look inside the interior.
Yep.
And you've got your T-handle shifter over there, and you got your two kind of bucket seats. I don't really think they're buckets.
They're buckets. I got to correct myself though. I think 71 is the last year of the Judge. 72 is the last year of this body style on the GTO. They went to what was called the Colonnade style in 1973. Well, yeah. So which one has the cooler bucket seats? I think the AR Cuda has the cooler bucket seats. PJ?
Well, Kathy says this is Big Daddy's Don Garlett's favorite out of the two Super Mopars.
Speaking of which, Kathy, I'm so glad that you brought that up. PJ, bring that camera on over here. I got something to show you guys. No, you can't win me. You can win the car.
Okay.
All right. Come on over here and look at that sun visor right there on the driver's side. What are you seeing there, guys?
The sun visor.
What are you seeing? Right up there.
Look at that.
What is it, PJ?
Big Daddy Don Garlett's 2025 autographed.
That's not AI, PJ. That's DG. Don Garlett's. I just realized that Don Garlett's has the same initials as Dream Giveaway. That's cosmic.
Yeah, exactly.
Over here, 1969 Ram Air 3 Judge. Wonderful restoration. Over 100 grand spent on this rare Matador red color. Beautiful, beautiful car. This will win prizes at any show you take it to.
Thor says, I coulda use a Cuda.
You coulda use a Cuda. You woulda? You shoulda?
And you coulda.
You coulda.
That's right. Now, if I had to pick which you would pick between these two, obviously I think you're going to go with the Judge all day
I'd go
long.
with the Judge. Yeah.
Why is that? Is it rarer or is it, I guess, more rare? I don't know.
Well, and I like that AR Cuda. But you know, I've got a background with Pontiacs and having a good time as the editor of High Performance Pontiac magazine. And I've owned a GTO. I've owned two GTOs. I've never owned a Judge. But I've never owned an AR Cuda. Can't I have both, PJ? Well, can't I?
You could if you win both.
But I'm not allowed to enter.
But you're also getting, another car with this one, not just the Cuda, but you're going to get
That's right, the Roadrunner. And that's over at our friends at Iron Stable Garage getting the window mechanism.
Thor says, I'm a coyote that's going to catch a Roadrunner.
Well, beep, beep.
That's right.
So come on, which one? You guys tell me. Would you buy the AR Cuda at the Plymouth dealer, or would you buy the Judge at the Pontiac dealer?
Mike Brown says the GOAT.
The GOAT, okay.
Thor says the Cuda.
Okay.
Mike does say Pontiac all the way.
That's nice.
Kathy says, I'd probably have to choose the Judge, but today is so hard to decide. Both are so awesome.
Right. And neither one has AC, just to let you know.
Roger says Pontiac Maniac.
C'est moi.
Thor says Hulk Hogan, who recently passed, had 2 Roadrunners and was a big daddy's buddy. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. Hogan had a Viper. I remember hearing about that. Again, he was local to our area, so.
Larry West says AAR all the way.
Okay, Larry says AAR.
Mary says Cuda. Yeah, so
Cuda?
it's almost 50-50.
Almost
Chris.
50-50.
I think it's a little edge towards the Cuda.
A little edge toward the Cuda. That's good stuff. And I'm not offended by you saying that you'll take the Cuda over the Judge.
Just Steven says AAR with a 4-speed, and I'll be ordering Mopar or no car.
Mopar or no car,
Because
indeed.
it's a big fan base.
Yeah, Mopar really does. And where's Wayman Henry chiming in on this?
Yeah, he's another big fan.
Another big Mopar fan out there. A couple other things I'd like to mention going on this week and next week. We're going to be holding the grand prize award ceremony for the same color, but a Dodge Challenger Hellcat 6-speed. That'll be a week from Friday. And 6 days from now, next Tuesday, will be your last day to enter. Super Chevys, the black Super Chevys. So next week is a very big week here.
That's really picking up. A lot of customers today called and said they were really interested in that Super Chevy package. So.
Good. Get your entries to win on those. We'll see you guys tomorrow. More great fun, more great action, more great grand prizes. It only happens right here in our favorite place on